Learning Buddhism in old age. As I grew older, I began to study Buddhism differently. When I encountered lengthy scriptures and lectures, regardless of how much was added or subtracted, I learned only one sentence, one word, or one verse. I would reflect on it, ask questions, seek answers, and apply it in my daily life. The journey of learning Buddhism should be a path of peace, a path toward the cessation of suffering. If studying the Dharma only increases my suffering, then I must be misunderstanding it. With the Heart Sutra, I need to learn and practice just one sentence. Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva practices the profound Prajnaparamita, perceives the five aggregates as fundamentally empty, and transcends all burdens of sorrow. I asked myself, who is Avalokitesvara? What is a bodhisattva? What constitutes profound practice? What is Prajnaparamita? Is it true that one can overcome all the burdens of suffering? In the end, just learning the word emptiness, prajna, is enough. When you understand the word emptiness due to dependent origination, you will not be easily deceived by external forms or names. What you see with your eyes is not really what it is. What you hear with your ears is not really what it is. Therefore, you are not mistaken by forms, and you are not affected by external forms. From there, your mind is not attached, and you live without clinging to anything. In our daily lives, we often cling to various things, listen to flattering words, and focus on external appearances, mistakenly believing they are genuine. As a result, we are deceived time and again, and by the time we awaken to the truth, it is often too late. In today's world, we must be increasingly vigilant against misinformation, deepfakes, artificial intelligence, and similar threats. With the Diamond Sutra, I need to learn just one sentence. When the mind is no longer attached to anything, the liberated mind will emerge. Recognize that everything originates from the mind. However, when thoughts arise, allow them to come and go. As long as you do not cling to those thoughts, you will find peace. If you allow the mind to become attached to anything, suffering will persist. When thoughts arise, let them be. Do not dwell on any thought. Therefore, the Platform Sutra of the Sixth Patriarch Huineng states that one should regard the mind of no abode as the foundation for cultivation, and the mind of no thought as the gateway to enter the Zen house. At that point, the mind will no longer be influenced by worldly conditions. The mind will cease to arise, returning to its true nature from its origin. To achieve this, one must engage in meditation. The Diamond Sutra instructs on meditation, emphasizing the importance of distancing oneself from appearances and thoughts. By doing so, one will arrive at the state where the Tathagata reveals the unmoving mind, the mind that perceives all dharmas as they truly are. With the Avatamsaka Sutra, I believe it is sufficient to study only the first part in Bodh Gaya, focusing on the initial chapters. Following this, we move on to the practice aspect, which is entering the Dharma realm, signifying our engagement in practice and immersion in the world. Each of us embodies the young man Sudana, open-minded, humble, and eager to learn alongside others. The Lord of the world, Dio Ngiem, the ruler of the world, is certainly not a god, a saint, a king, or an emperor. Rather, he must be an individual who has attained remarkable solemnity. This person must be a bodhisattva, who is leisurely, free, and unhindered, having practiced the profound wisdom of prajna and recognized the emptiness of the five aggregates. Tathagata originally had no form but spontaneously manifested as a Buddha to propagate the Dharma with great difficulty, all out of profound compassion. We, too, are shaped by the Tathagata Garbha to endure numerous afflictions, often unaware of the reasons behind them, or the environmental retributions that lead to our current retribution, ultimately resulting from karma. When the day arrives that we have settled our karma, we will return to the realm of non-birth. To understand how the Tathagata manifests, you must enter the Samadhi of Samantabhadra. This Samadhi represents the deepest state of meditation. Only by entering the Samadhi of Samantabhadra can you perceive that when a Buddha appears from formlessness, the three demons vanish. At that moment, the demons of greed, anger, and delusion will no longer disturb you. The world has unveiled itself as a tapestry of flowers before our eyes, all of which emerge from our minds. Birth and death, the concepts of eternity and annihilation, and the myriad illusions are so captivating that we often remain unaware of their true nature. Consequently, we continue to suffer, face challenges, and encounter obstacles, we must simply endure. If we enter and navigate the world like Sudhana, the youth, we will ultimately gain clarity and understanding. What do you see? You see Vairocana Buddha. You perceive all Buddhas as embodying the same essence of Vairocana Tathagatagarbha, as stated in the Avatamsaka Sutra. We now understand that all things originate from DNA, which itself emerges from the void of nothingness that encompasses all worlds. Once you grasp this principle, you will no longer be constrained by the material aspects of this world. It is easy to comprehend that the immense Mount Sumeru can fit within a mustard seed, or that the 4 vast oceans can be contained within a single pore. The remarkable aspect of the Lotus Sutra is that it illustrates how one can swiftly attain Buddhahood. For a long time, many have believed that becoming a Buddha is a challenging endeavor, requiring countless lifetimes of cultivation. On that day at the foot of Lintu Mountain, the Buddha informed his disciples that he was aging and about to enter nirvana. He encouraged the monks to ask any questions they had without hesitation. The leading bodhisattva promptly inquired how they could quickly become Buddhas. I anticipated that the Buddha would reprimand the monks, but to my surprise, he replied that it was very easy. Simply learn the Dharma door of infinite meanings, and it will be accomplished immediately. The Dharma door encompasses a single principle, no form. The Buddha elaborated further, stating that signifies no form, yet it is not merely no form. It is not no form, but rather no form, which is why it is referred to as true form. Thus, no form is the true form, and true form is no form. Isn't that extraordinary? Being immersed in formlessness is misguided, just as being immersed in true form is also erroneous. Therefore, perceiving reality as it is does not equate to seeing the truth. It merely involves interpreting things as real. We must recognize formlessness to understand that it is impermanent and not a self. This awareness leads us to comprehend that while it exists, it is dependently arisen and ultimately empty. Although it embodies emptiness, it still exists. By seeing and understanding in this manner, we free ourselves from attachment. We do not seek to destroy the conditioned. Rather, the mind refrains from fixating on the unconditioned. In this state, there is neither existence nor non-existence. Additionally, we learn the virtues of the Bodhisattva never disparaging, the genuineness of the Bodhisattva medicine king, and the empathy and attentive listening exemplified by the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara. With the Lotus Sutra, I ponder whether its purpose is to guide sentient beings in understanding and penetrating the nature of reality and comprehending what the Buddha truly represents. After reflection and contemplation, I recognize its profound significance. Concepts such as impermanence, non-self, suffering, and impurity are also aspects of the unchanging, the blissful, the essence of self, and true purity, yet they are often misinterpreted due to the delusions we experience in our dreams. With the Vimalakirti Sutra, I learned that the Buddha realm is not distant. It resides within the mind. When our mind is pure, the Buddha realm is pure. Conversely, if our mind is impure, we perceive obstacles such as hills, pits, and thorns all around us. However, when the mind is pure, the landscape transforms into a vast, majestic, and beautiful expanse, illuminated by golden light everywhere. I also learned that expedient means must be accompanied by wisdom. Prajnaparamita is the mother of bodhisattvas, while the appropriate application of expedient means is the father. One must first possess Prajnaparamita. Only then can one effectively apply expedient means. I have learned that bodhisattvas do not immerse themselves in meditation to the extent of neglecting life. Rather, they must empathize with the endless suffering of all living beings. Consequently, bodhisattvas practice the principle of emptiness without viewing emptiness as an achievement, and they embrace the principles of formlessness and actionlessness without considering formlessness and actionlessness as accomplishments. I have come to understand that perceiving the mind can be quite challenging. How can one achieve peace of mind? The most effective approach is to connect with it through the body. Therefore, emulating Vimalakirti's experience of illness is a valuable method. In sickness, all individuals are equal. There is no discrimination. Everyone stands on equal ground before sickness. Vimalakirti emphasized that this body cannot be trusted. It is not mine, it is not me, and it is not a self belonging to me. Instead, one must recognize the Buddha body, which refers to the Dharma body. I have come to understand that living beings are illusions crafted by the magician, ourselves. This magician is also a living being. We are nothing more than reflections in a mirror, like the moon's image on water or the fleeting footprints of birds in the sky. I have learned that the four maras are our constant companions, always by our side to assist us. The Mara of afflictions surrounds us, reminding us that there are 48,000 ways to escape our suffering. The Mara of the five aggregates serves as a friend, reminding us that the trivial distractions that disturb us are merely temporary combinations. The Mara from the heavens acts as a warning: do not be delusional. Finally, the Mara of death is a close companion who has been with us since we were in our mother's womb. I have discovered a fragrance that endlessly nourishes both the body and mind, and that fragrance is virtue. Only this scent can soar high, travel far, and defy the wind. Looking back on my challenging journey of learning Buddhism, I realized that I can create a visual reminder to help me remember my experiences. The Lotus Sutra is the essence and foundation of Buddhist teachings. The Master has revealed a profound secret, one that the Buddhas of the past have kept hidden until now. It is only in this time that Shakyamuni Buddha has allowed us to perceive and understand the Tathagata. From this understanding, we can realize the Buddha's perspective and learn to live in harmony with it. This realization brings us ease and freedom, aligning us with the Dharma. At that time, we will live according to our circumstances, understanding that all beings originate from the same Tathagata Garbha, sharing the same Tathagata womb. It is as it is, without beginning or end, interacting from the Tathagata Garbha to form the Dharma realm within the infinite universe. With the cultivation of prajna wisdom, we are no longer ensnared by distinctions, contrivances, or the intertwined and entangled dependencies that obscure our perception of suchness. Only when we recognize and understand this will we gain the confidence to be at ease, completely free, and accountable for our own circumstances and karma, without blaming or depending on others. We learn to turn inward, relying on ourselves, and realize that once we have purified our minds, they return to their original state of purity. It is as if we are being guided by Samantadra Bodhisattva into the Vairocana palace, which represents our own Dharma body. Finally, the Vimalakirti Sutra embodies the Buddha's aspiration to reach every individual and every aspect of life, aiming to establish a Buddha realm, a Dharma realm characterized by equality, joy, and happiness for all of humanity. Have you relaxed your entire body? That is my personal mantra, my own dharani, which I recite every morning when I sit down, facing the wall. I mention facing the wall because the space where I meditate is less than a meter away from it, as my house is quite small. Of course, meditation does not have to be done while sitting. It can also be practiced while walking, standing, or lying down. However, I find sitting to be more enjoyable and logical. I cannot sit in the traditional full lotus or half lotus position, so I adapt my own sitting style, just as there are Tibetan, Japanese, and Western approaches to meditation. Any method is valid. For over 25 years, I have engaged in my personal meditation practice every morning. I do not adhere to any specific school. Instead, I focus on the principles of anapanasati meditation as taught by the Buddha, which encompasses both samatha and vipassana meditation. I typically meditate for about 30 to 40 minutes, followed by approximately 30 minutes of light physical exercises, which I also view as a form of moving meditation, a means to allow meditation to fade away. Every movement during exercise impacts every muscle, bone, and joint in the body. After a period of silence, I listen to my mind as it rambles and attempt to calm it. I find that my health improves, my work capacity becomes more resilient, and my memory is enhanced somewhat. When I neglect to meditate and exercise in this way, I feel lethargic. Over time, I have come to feel somewhat addicted to these practices. To aid my memory, I wrote a poem and concealed it carefully, always beginning with the dharani. Is your whole body relaxed? The rhyme goes as follows. Relax your whole body, like hanging a coat hanger. Sit cross-legged, keep your shoulders level, your back straight, and follow your breath as if borrowing air from afar. Breathe in, then out, sometimes deep, sometimes shallow. Pay attention to the gaps between breaths. Pranasati, the breath shrinks and deflates. The body and mind are peaceful and pure. No thoughts arise. Time seems to vanish. A speck of dust drifts, clinging to the breath. Because of dependent origination, there is no self, and therefore, the five aggregates are all empty. Once you realize this truth, you will feel at ease and be able to walk into the market with open arms. Relax your whole body, like hanging a coat hanger. The act of relaxing the entire body is crucial before entering meditation. If you begin meditation while still tense, it can lead to a negative experience. Therefore, it is essential to ask yourself whether you have fully relaxed your body. When you achieve this state of relaxation, you begin to drift away. There is no longer a sense of self, no other individuals, no living beings, and no concept of a lifespan. If you can genuinely relax, you will significantly reduce your energy consumption. Just as birds do not need to flap their wings to fly, they simply glide effortlessly. How can I relax? Some people suggest relaxing the entire body as if it were a lifeless corpse floating down a river. They encourage viewing the body as a decaying skin bag or a floating cadaver. However, I believe it is more beneficial to perceive the body as a shirt hanging on a hanger. Just as a shirt is not eternal and requires changing, so too does the body. By considering the body as a shirt on a hanger, one can fully release attachment to the physical form and the four elements and five aggregates. This perspective is sufficient to facilitate entry into meditation. Relax. No more muscles are tense, and no more nerves need to be activated. Understanding that muscle tension or tonus musculaire is essential for maintaining skeletal stability and overall bodily function has consumed nearly 40% of the body's energy. When relaxed, as if hanging on a hanger, the energy expended on muscle tension is no longer necessary. When one achieves a state of lightness, the body feels as light as a cloud, TCS. Sit cross-legged, keep your shoulders level, your back straight. Sitting in any position is acceptable, even on a chair. However, crossing your legs in a circle is even better. This position provides stability, much like a tripod. Regardless of what others may say, it is important to remain diligent and patient. Without patience, it is easy to give up, especially if you face ridicule or mockery. No matter who laughs, stay patient, and you will succeed. Sitting cross-legged resembles a tower, a treasure tower. Within this treasure tower resides Tathagata Prabhutaratna, who smiles upon those who meditate in this manner. Practitioners can easily connect with Tathagata Prabhutaratna. This connection is akin to recognizing the physical body, which is composed entirely of earth, water, fire, and the elements. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, as well as copper, iron, zinc, manganese, magnesium, phosphorus, lime, and others. It is a treasure because it is used to create another living being, whether that be grass, trees, flowers, or even ourselves being reborn. Sitting in the treasure tower is akin to entering seclusion within your own body. Your shoulders should be level and your back straight, serving as a reminder to maintain proper posture. Otherwise, the structure will become unstable and crooked. The concept of a straight back is crucial. Follow your breath, as if borrowing air from afar. Following is not spying, it is light and refreshing. It involves observing things as they are, without judgment. In contrast, spying is tense, probing, anxious, and nervous. Why not focus on something else instead of the breath? Because the breath is the easiest thing to observe and follow. It is right under our noses, always present, as we cannot escape the necessity of breathing. While you can choose another object to observe, focusing on the breath is more convenient since it is intrinsically linked to the body. When you are tired and exhausted, you may feel almost out of breath. The breath is also connected to the mind. When you are nervous or afraid, your breathing differs from when you are happy. It is impermanent. The breath serves as the thread that connects the body to the mind and is essential to life. Life is merely a breath, nothing more, nothing less. When you stop breathing, you cease to live. The breath exists independently of us. It does not rely on us. Thus, following it can reveal many intriguing insights. First of all, breath is not inherently ours. It exists somewhere in space, within the universe. It consists of nitrogen and oxygen, along with various other gases. We require oxygen to oxidize food and generate energy essential for life. Without breathing, we cannot survive. However, some living organisms do not need oxygen, such as plants, and there are also anaerobic organisms, like Clostridium bacteria, which can thrive without oxygen. These bacteria form a thick protective shell called a spore, allowing them to clump together and remain dormant. When conditions become favorable, they can emerge from this state. Are people in meditation experiencing a state similar to that of a spore? When we say that breathing borrows air, it indicates that this process is temporary and that at some point, the air must be returned. Breathe in, then out, sometimes deep, sometimes shallow. When you breathe in, you are aware of inhaling. When you breathe out, you recognize exhaling. When you breathe deeply, you know it is deep. When you breathe shallowly, you are aware of its shallowness. In essence, simply observe your breath. It comes in, it goes out, it is deep, and it is shallow. There is no need to force it, to inhale deeply, or to breathe slowly or evenly. Don't rush, just take it easy. Whatever it is, allow it to be. Be natural, be relaxed, and be yourself. There is no need to exert effort. The key is to follow your breath. For a time, you need not concern yourself with how it enters, how it exits, or how deep or shallow it is. Let it be. Let me be. I have dissolved and disappeared into it. If I am not even myself, how can I perceive it? I only temporarily borrow this awareness in the initial stage to guide me into concentration. In concentration, if possible, you will pass through placing the mind, passing through keeping it connected, passing through rapture, passing through bliss, passing through equanimous and mindful. One meditates in bliss and entering the place of pure equanimity and mindfulness, and passing through more. In the Sutra on the Four Foundations of Mindfulness, the Buddha clearly said that this is the direct path leading to the purity of living beings, the elimination of suffering and sorrow, the attainment of right wisdom, and the realization of nirvana. The four foundations of mindfulness can be distilled into mindfulness of the body, and further simplifying this leads to anapanasati, the practice of mindful breathing and contemplation of the breath. The path becomes increasingly simple and profound, as taught by the king of medicine. Pay attention to the gaps between breaths, pranasati. In music, there are essential pauses, 2 beats, 4 beats, and so on. The same principle applies to breathing. Between inhaling and exhaling, there is a brief pause, while the interval between exhaling and inhaling is longer. This is known as the resting period. Qigong practitioners can control their breathing in 3 or 4 phases. However, here we are focusing on the average person who should pay particular attention to exhaling. Exhaling does not require energy, whereas inhaling does. Therefore, before inhaling, it is important to pause briefly to concentrate our energy. In fact, when the pressure in the lungs is 0, the air inside and outside the lungs becomes indistinguishable, resulting in a fusion with space and time. In this state, there is only silence. A skilled meditator can extend this silence, connecting the moments of stillness into a pause. This pause represents a return to the womb, akin to the Tathagata womb or Tathagata Garbha. While there may still be very light breaths, there is no movement of the diaphragm. It feels as though one breathes through the skin, as both the skin and lungs share the same embryonic origin according to embryology. Meditation masters who reach the 4th absorption, characterized by pure equanimity and mindfulness, likely experience this state. Prana represents silence. The word pra means before, and the word ana means to breathe in. Prana is the state preceding inhalation, or more precisely, the stage before breathing. It is akin to the fetus in the mother's womb, which does not require breathing. Ancient texts describe prana as the source of life. Sati encompasses mindfulness, remembrance, contemplation, and observation. When we remember and contemplate the state of prana, we recognize that the source of life exists in the realm of no breathing, the realm of apnea, the stage before inhalation. In the word anapanasati, ana is breathing in, apana is breathing out, and sati is mindfulness, remembering and thinking. Buddha did not mention prana, but in yoga there is pranayama, controlling prana. Not mentioning is for each person to discover, adjust, and control themselves. The letter Om, as found in the phrase Om Mani Padme Hum, is represented as Aum according to the original terminology. A signifies inhalation, U represents exhalation, and M denotes silence. The breath shrinks and deflates. The body and mind are peaceful and pure. The breath shrinks and deflates. The body remains tense and bloated. Muscle tone, constant muscle tension to maintain posture, which leads to fatigue and depletes energy. Now during this pause, we can rest. Just as we often say when we feel tired and stressed from work, we can experience relief. Letting go, deflating, and releasing tension creates a state of stillness and tranquility, peace for both body and mind. If there is lingering agitation and restlessness, we cannot sit still. Similarly, if we are drowsy and dozing, we cannot achieve this state either, as we must remain mindful and alert. Greed, anger, doubt, drowsiness, and restlessness are the 5 obstacles to meditation. In fact, when we sleep, our bodies consume significantly less energy, reducing energy expenditure by 50%, leaving only the energy required for basic metabolism. However, sleep still consumes energy during dreaming, and it can be just as exhausting and sweaty as being awake, especially when tossing and turning and struggling to fall asleep. When practiced correctly, meditation can reduce energy expenditure by up to 40% related to muscle tension and nearly 30% related to brain activity. In other words, proper meditation can save up to 70% of the body's energy, making it more efficient than sleep. The Buddha is said to have transcended the need for sleep, and meditation masters often require very little sleep. No thoughts arise, time seems to vanish. In a state where you feel shrunk and deflated, both the body and mind can find peace. The body is at rest and the mind is quiet. A sense of egolessness prevails, and wandering thoughts dissipate. When thoughts linger and perceptions arise, something is inevitably happening, leading to disturbance. However, it is challenging to halt these wandering thoughts. Buddha was once harassed by the devil, surrounded by many flickering shadows that were difficult to dispel. Therefore, when you notice these thoughts surfacing, it is entirely normal. Allow them to exist without resistance. They will come and go. Do not attempt to chase them away. The more you pursue them, the more you become attached and confused. There is no need to eliminate delusions or to seek the truth. The tranquil surface of a lake does not need to cling to the reflection of a crane flying by, whether it is a yellow crane or a red crane, a male crane or a female crane. Practicing mindfulness through breathing is the most effective way to interrupt the flow of wandering, restless thoughts. Initially, these thoughts may feel overwhelming and persistent, but with time, they will diminish. Avoid the temptation to chase them away or to become fixated on achieving specific results. The quicker you return your focus to your breath, the more progress you will make. When the body and mind are calm and tranquil, you may experience a sense of lightness and comfort through the enjoyment of meditation. However, it is important not to cling to that feeling. In that moment, you might encounter a state of selflessness, where there is no time, no space, no self, no others, no living beings, and no lifespan. A speck of dust drifts, clinging to the breath. The state just mentioned is not easy to achieve and is not always possible, except perhaps for skilled meditators. Otherwise, it is easier to observe how a speck of dust drifts and clings to the breath, leading to the emergence of various phenomena. In reality, there is no such thing as a natural or accidental attachment. Everything has its own causes and effects. It is entangled and intertwined, shaped by countless previous lives. Whether it is delightful dust or burdensome dust, it still carries karmic consequences. Believe it or not, the choice is yours. Consider asking why we exist in this world. If our father had never met our mother, who would we be? Only then can we perceive the entanglement, the intertwining, and the principle of dependent origination. This exists, that exists. This does not appear, that does not appear. It may seem like a coincidence, but it is not a coincidence at all. People meet for a reason, yet this is not fatalism. Everything is both interconnected and fluid. That is remarkable. That is freedom, absolute freedom. It entails self-responsibility. Do not blame the heavens above or the heavens beyond. We choose our karma, correct our karma, and transform our karma. Because of dependent origination, there is no self, and therefore the 5 aggregates are all empty. When you comprehend the law of dependent origination and perceive selflessness, you attain a state of partial enlightenment. Non-self cannot be adequately expressed through words, concepts, or arguments. It must be experienced, as it represents a state of mind. Come and see. The balanced triangle of precepts, concentration, and wisdom, which varies according to each individual's approach and capacity, forms an inherently balanced structure with 2 interdependent directions. This interplay gives rise to one aspect, which in turn leads to another, with each element supporting the other. The butcher set down his knife and approached, while the intellectual contemplated and came. However, both had to navigate through the precepts and concentration. Right concentration will lead to right view and right thinking on the path of the Noble Eightfold Path. To achieve right concentration, one must progress from samatha meditation to vipassana meditation in order to perceive the true nature, which is formless, and to recognize the Tathagata. Once you realize this truth, you will feel at ease and be able to walk into the market with open arms. That is the process of entering. Once enlightened, one must take the step to enter. It is essential to learn and practice, as knowledge and practice are interconnected. Approaching the market with ease is challenging. Remaining free from worries and troubles is also difficult. Therefore, there are 84,000 methods available to adapt to various situations and to assist oneself and others. Learning the way Buddha taught, I studied the Diamond Sutra and, unexpectedly, found myself feeling as captivated as I had when I studied the Heart Sutra previously. At times, I was startled. At other moments, I felt astonished, bewildered, and even stunned. Although many versions of the sutras exist, a clear consistency runs through them. The approach may vary depending on the audience, and the method of conveyance differs, but the underlying principles remain the same. Is it true that by grasping the core concepts, a learner will experience less confusion and see the door to the path? The first thing that surprised and stunned me while studying the Diamond Sutra was my expectation of encountering beautiful words and ideas, golden principles, and profound teachings. However, the Diamond Sutra immediately presented a very ordinary, if not trivial, narrative: the story of the Buddha during mealtime. Feeling hungry, he donned his robe, took his alms bowl, and went out to beg for food, without uttering a word or even bothering to clear his throat. Just imagine, amid thousands of people, including great bodhisattvas, arhats, high-ranking monks, and esteemed disciples, sitting and waiting to hear profound teachings, the Buddha said nothing. He donned his robe, took his alms bowl, and went into the city to beg for alms. After gathering enough alms, he leisurely returned to the hall, set out the food, finished eating, and properly tidied his robes and alms bowl. He washed his feet, sat cross-legged, and began to breathe, seemingly entering meditation. He didn't even bother to utter a single word of instruction. I imagine that at that time I was also sitting somewhere outside the hallway, listening and waiting to hear the sermons, feeling frustrated and disappointed. Suddenly, Subhuti appeared. Sitting in the middle of the crowd like everyone else, he stood up, respectfully bowed to the world-honored one in accordance with the ritual, and then spoke words of praise. How wonderful, how wonderful, how unprecedented. The world-honored one has skillfully taught, skillfully transmitted, and skillfully entrusted the wonderful dharma to all of you present here today. At that moment, I realized that an unexpected lesson had just been imparted. The surprise quickly transformed into anxiety. Oh no, I had not paid attention and had failed to closely follow the silent lecture of the Buddha. Fortunately, Subhuti had recognized it. Those who did not pay careful attention would have missed a regrettable opportunity. Buddha had a unique approach to teaching. He conveyed lessons not through words but through actions. This method, commonly referred to as a demonstration way, aims to impart life skills. Once again, this approach emphasizes that learning and practicing Buddhism is about action rather than discussion. The principle is simple: do first, talk later, or sometimes there may be no need to talk at all. This is why Zen masters often have their students chop wood, cook rice, carry water, grow vegetables, and pound rice, all without explicitly instructing them. Only when students confront their own concerns will they truly learn. In various unconventional ways, the teacher facilitates this process, sometimes by challenging them to capsize their metaphorical boat, other times by delivering a sudden jolt, or by providing vague answers. The teacher may pose questions such as, "Show me your mind, and I will grant you peace of mind." These methods can surprise students and awaken them from their stupor. At the end of the course, students will not receive a diploma to showcase, nor does the teacher possess anything to give them. The knowledge and solutions are already within the students. The teacher merely assists them in discovering, experiencing, and resolving their own issues. This process is known as counseling, a contemporary method of psychological and medical therapy. The counselor acts like a midwife, aiding the mother in achieving a safe delivery, but ultimately cannot give birth for her. The child is already present in the mother's womb. Returning to the lesson, everyone was startled and astonished, recalling that Buddha aimed to teach them a fundamental principle. When hungry, eat. When thirsty, drink. At mealtime, one must focus on eating. Anyone who claims that eating is unnecessary either does not understand how to live or is being dishonest. Even the Buddha had to don his robes and carry his alms bowl to beg for food at mealtimes, let alone us. What is noteworthy is that a world-honored one like the Buddha could simply speak, and an array of delicious dishes and exotic offerings would appear. The attendants should have prepared a proper meal for the Buddha, waiting for him to finish his sermon before serving. But no, the Buddha ventured out to find food on his own, without anyone's assistance. He did not indulge in sumptuous, pre-prepared meals. Instead, he practiced exactly what he preached. Therefore, witnessing this would be surprising. Many high-ranking monks present would likely reflect on whether they had ever allowed their disciples to serve them, preparing vegetarian dishes that were both elaborate and delectable. In modern times, we still encounter many vegetarian foods designed to resemble shrimp, fish, and chicken thighs. It is truly alarming. We are both startled and amazed by the Buddha, the highest being, the world-honored one, who possesses numerous illustrious titles yet remains remarkably simple. He walks barefoot with each graceful step, carrying his alms bowl to beg for food under the midday sun, accepting whatever is available to eat. The Buddha strolls leisurely and naturally, with each step taken mindfully, unaffected by the whispers and gossip of those around him, some praising him, while others criticize. He simply breathes in and out with each step, moving gently, refreshingly, and at ease. The Buddha did not select affluent homes to beg for alms, nor did he prefer impoverished ones that might offer more comfort or familiarity. He moved leisurely from house to house, as there was no need to discriminate. Both the rich and the poor had their own struggles. Everyone faced challenges, and all experienced suffering in their own ways. After several hours of walking to collect alms, any food became a delicacy. When consumed mindfully, savoring each bite, any meal could be delightful and easy to digest. It appeared that the alms bowl was just the right size to hold enough food for one person, ensuring that there would not be an excess left over. In contemporary society, it is uncommon to witness monks begging for alms, particularly in urban areas and cities. However, when we encounter an individual clad in a kasaya, carrying an alms bowl, and walking mindfully from house to house, we cannot help but admire the ancient great master and feel a sense of reverence. Although monks no longer need to beg for alms for every meal, their daily practice of walking for several hours remains essential for maintaining good health. A simple diet rich in vegetables and beans, while low in fat, sugar, and salt, is also beneficial. Eating in a relaxed and peaceful environment, with the joy of having a sufficient meal, without fussiness or excess, transforms each meal into a delightful, healthy, and invigorating experience. After eating, Buddha tidied up his bowl and clothes, washed his feet, and then sat down to meditate. It is noteworthy that after his meal, he did not go to sleep or engage in a heated argument. Instead, he chose to meditate. This may have been the ideal moment to attune himself to his body in action, observing how food was digested, absorbed, and transformed into energy within each cell. The lesson was imparted. If we take the time to observe more carefully, we may uncover many intriguing insights regarding the instance when the Buddha carried his alms bowl, soliciting donations from house to house. For example, the individual who sought alms was not merely a beggar, but rather a giver. In this context, it becomes challenging to distinguish between those who are asking for alms and those who are giving. When the Buddha stood in front of a house, the homeowner experienced a profound sense of joy, not only because the beggar was the Buddha, but also because the act of begging conveyed a deeper significance. It served as a warning, a message, or a reminder. The homeowner then had the opportunity to reflect on himself, listening to a voice deep within his soul. He might soon forget, but one day the reminder would resonate once more. For a noble person, it could be startling to realize that the individual walking barefoot, bareheaded, holding an alms bowl and begging, was the same person who had relinquished the position of crown prince, forsaken silk brocade, and given up a beautiful wife and royal maidservants. There may have been individuals who chased and insulted a beggar, only to receive a grateful glance, a warm smile, and gentle steps in return. Later that night, the person who had chased and insulted the beggar was taken aback to hear another voice echoing in his heart. There were impoverished individuals who had nothing to eat and nothing to offer, yet in those moments, the shared look and smile conveyed so much. It was a message of respect, free from discrimination. In fact, if we observe more carefully, we might notice that from the moment the Buddha stood to don his robe and pick up his alms bowl, each gesture exuded a quality distinct from our own. If someone were to ask the Buddha about his method of putting on his robe and picking up his alms bowl, he would likely smile gently and indicate that there is a difference. The Buddha approached these actions with mindfulness, while we often act hastily, gasping and grabbing our robes and alms bowls, rushing about in a flurry. During a demonstration teaching, every gesture and action must be observed and followed meticulously to ensure proper practice. Throughout this teaching, we learned more than we anticipated. The individual who gives alms does not truly give alms. The acts of observing precepts and exercising patience are performed, but they are not done with the intention of keeping precepts and practicing patience. Ditto regarding the practices of moderation, contentment, diligence, mindfulness, and maintaining a state of ease, peace, leisure, and wisdom. Thus, we should not be surprised when we hear Subhuti proclaiming, "Rare is the world-honored one. The Tathagata has skillfully guided and protected the bodhisattvas and has graciously entrusted them with his teachings."